Hello, this is your tutor, Dr. Akabok from the mighty Wasela Academy. So, in today's lesson, we are going to discuss questions on birth, Christian religious education. So, I want to give you an advice before we even proceed. So in RE, when you are trying to answer questions, make sure that the answers that you present are acceptable answers, not rumors, because rumors are not marked. They mark what we call acceptable answers. So, for example, on our first question, we've got some of the possibilities that can be our answers, but unfortunately they won't be accepted and they'll be marked wrong. Thank you. Get rid of all those distractions and pay attention to this video. Okay, question 1 says, how do people give names to the newborn babies in modern Zambian society? Give 2 points. Okay, so here on question 1, let me even show you how to present points. When you are presenting such kinds of points, you present them in form of bullet form, or just take a short answer. You can say number 1 or 1, then you write. In another line, you say 2, then you write. You have given point number 1 and point number what? Point number 2. So here are the acceptable answers. How do they name, or how do they choose names for the newborn babies? So fact number 1 that you need to know is that a name can be chosen either before or after birth. Are we together? Say that again with me. A name can be chosen either before or after birth. Wonderful. So we can say a name is chosen, it's a point, before or after what? Or after what? After birth. Point number 1. How do people give names or choose names for their newborn babies? Then we also need to know that in modern Zambian society, a baby is named after a living relative or an ancestor. So let me give an example of such. You are going to see, like for example, if someone you've seen, like especially for the ladies and for the males, those that have given birth before, you are going to see that there are some people that give names to say, oh, I've got a brother of mine. My brother is very generous, so I'm going to name this baby after his name. For example, if his name is Joseph, I'm going to name him Joseph, so that maybe by all possible means I can remember that how generous my brother is, or he can be like my brother. You understand that? Or after a living, or after an ancestor. That means that when you want to remember maybe your great grandmother that was very generous, that was very kind. Now you want to name your child. You can say, to remember my great grandmother who was called by Blessings, I'll name this child Blessings. Okay. That is how we name a baby. So we are saying a name is chosen, okay, you can say after a living, which means the relative is still what? Is still alive. Maybe some of you can still even testify to this. After a living what? After a living relative. After a living relative or an ancestor. When we say an ancestor, we mean someone who is already dead and gone. Now you want to remember them, okay? Then number 3, how do people in modern Zambian society name their child? We have, for example, in modern Zambian society, people name their child according to the circumstances that the couple or the mother used to pass through before pregnancy, especially during pregnancy. Okay. The circumstances. So, keyword there is circumstances. Through circumstances that the couple or the mother used to go through during pregnancy. Okay. So we are going to say through what? Through circumstances, which means things that they used to pass through. Through circumstances. Through circumstances during pregnancy or after birth, immediately after birth. I can give an example. For example, if a mother used to cry a lot, she used to shed a lot of tears. For example, she lost this person, or this, a lot of things used to make her cry. She can name that child Misozi, to remember that the time I carried this baby in my womb, I used to cry a lot. Or she can name that child by the name of who? Mavuto. To say, okay, during the time I had this baby in my womb, I used to pass through problems, a lot of problems. That is how they choose how they choose the names for the newborn babies. Okay. Then we also need to know that there are some